I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. The bad news is the recession is coming and it will not be stopped. The good news is you still have time to prepare. Please make sure to share this video. Please subscribe and please make sure you hit the bell notification so that you get the newest videos. So I think most of you out there agree that a recession is coming. Many of you would probably say a depression is coming. And many of you would probably already say that the recession has already begun, which I would have to agree with. You know, when you go out and you see the amount of homeless people walking the streets in your local cities, in your local towns, when you see the amount of vacant buildings, when you see the damage that this retail apocalypse that we've seen take place right before our very eyes, this is a retail apocalypse taking place. It is so obvious what is happening right now that I truly do believe that this recession / depression has already begun. You need to look no further than the real estate markets throughout the country falling off of a cliff. Look at the auto sector. We've got 7 million defaults. You look at the amount of credit card defaults now that is growing. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It is getting harder and harder for the government to just sweep this under a rug because it is right out in the open, right in front of our faces. You can see the homeless people. I see the homeless people. You can see cities and towns deteriorating, the infrastructure deteriorating right now. And it just seems to me when you look at people walking around, they look very unhappy for the most part. Many people look very unhappy. And many people look extremely unhealthy and obese. And I've never seen a time in America in my lifetime where I've seen people so depressed, where we have so many people on pharmaceuticals battling with depression. And yet we supposedly live in the greatest country in the world, which I think we do. And I think we're totally blessed to be in this country. Yet so many people are depressed. So many people are on pharmaceuticals and antidepressants to battle with this. And we are just witnessing things that are coming straight out of a horror film. And we are witnessing this country deteriorate socially. It's deteriorating in the churches morally. And we're just seeing our political system deteriorating. I mean, everything is deteriorating across the board. And of course, economically, it is deteriorating. And so the bad news is the recession is coming. It has begun. But the good news is you can still get prepared for this. And for the people out there that have been preparing, this is no time to be complacent. The warning signs are everywhere you look. And I know that there are going to be people that continue to ignore the signs, to ignore the warnings. And, you know, I'm not going to feel sorry for these people. I truly am not going to feel sorry for people because it is so obvious, the warnings that we're seeing throughout America. So don't get complacent. Things are really happening here in America. I just see things heading in the wrong direction, and I see dangerous things coming to America. I've come out and said many times that there are people out there that are buying cars that they cannot afford just to impress people they don't know, to impress friends, to impress people they don't even like. They're out there buying houses to impress people, to impress family members, to impress friends, what have you, buying watches, buying jewelry, living beyond their means. This is no time to be living beyond your means. We are living in a very dangerous time economically here in America. And there was an article that came out today. It's been circulating all over the internet. Bad credit debt is on the rise. And in this article, it talks about the charge-off rate. A charge-off is the percentage of debt that the bank is not going to be able to collect, so they just write it off. charge it off. It rose to 3.82% in the first 3 months of 2019. This is the highest since the second quarter of 2012. Loans 30 days past due increased at all 7 of the largest U.S. card issuers. Capital One charge-offs at the end of 2018 were at 5.04%. Now, if this economy is doing so well, and again, I support this president, I don't want to see America fail, I support America, but this economy and these markets are highly manipulated. They're very artificial. And with all this help, ask yourself, why are we seeing charge-offs, bad credit debt on the rise? Why are we seeing things like this if things are supposedly heading in a good economic direction? So with all this manipulation, with all this help, with all this injection of easy money, free money, low interest rates, this is where we're at. Just imagine when they can no longer manipulate this economy, what we're going to see. This is just the beginning. And this should really be a warning sign to everybody that things aren't as they say they are, and why you need to be preparing right now. Not when something happens, not when something has already happened. Don't prepare after an event. It's going to be too late. You need to be preparing right now. These numbers are not lying. This is what is happening in your real world right now today. The next recession coming to America could quite possibly be the last recession that America sees. Many people believe that this recession, quite possibly a depression, will be the worst in history, that it is going to hit harder and it is going to last much longer, and it's going to do much more damage than what we saw even in the 1930s. Article today on Zero Hedge: U.S. savings rate plunges as consumer spending soars by most in a decade. So nobody's saving money, but people are spending. They're not acquiring assets. They're not acquiring savings. What they are acquiring is more debt. They are buying more debt. Of course, there are people that are spending everything they have just to keep up with their standard of living, to keep up with inflation. And it's getting really hard for most people. And there are still people out there living beyond their means, buying stuff that they should not be buying. The savings rate collapsed from 7.3% to 6.5%. This is the lowest since November. This is the biggest monthly drop in the savings rate since January 2013. Personal spending rose 0.9% month over month. It's the biggest rise since 2009. So apparently, most people have not learned a lesson from 2008. And, you know, it just blows my mind how people just continue to spend, continue to acquire debt, not putting any money away, living beyond their means, driving cars they shouldn't be driving, buying garbage that they don't need in order to keep up with the Joneses, in order to have a certain type of lifestyle that they apparently cannot afford. Because I don't care how big your house is or how nice your house is, if you have no money saved up, if you have no assets, you have a big house that you owe a lot of money on. It doesn't matter what kind of car you drive. If you're leasing a car for 3 years and you have a $1,200 lease payment or $1,000 lease payment, that's great. But what do you have in the bank? If you're going to buy a car and finance it for 84 months, and it's a $70,000 BMW, most people probably think you have a lot of money, but your ass is broke. And so we get so brainwashed into believing that people that are living in a nice house or driving a nice car, that they have money. It's all an illusion. Most people have no assets. They have no money saved up. They're living from paycheck to paycheck, and they're just hoping that this thing doesn't collapse, because they're going to be in big trouble. The people with debt are going to pay the biggest price. There are going to be opportunity after opportunity after this collapse hits. And the people with money, the people that have some cash, the people with assets, they're going to capitalize, because they're going to go in and they're going to buy that person's house when they lose it. When they lose that car, they're going to go buy that car for a very large discounted price. When real estate comes back down like we witnessed in '08, when real estate out here was selling to 30 to 50 cents on the dollar, land was selling 10, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar. The people of money came in here and they capitalized. And the time to make money is when there's blood in the streets, when things crash. The time to make money is not right now buying into overvalued real estate markets, overvalued stocks, overvalued assets. This is my opinion. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you how I'm looking at things. The time to make money is when things are on sale. And we do know two things that are on sale right now. That's gold and silver. You should be acquiring hard assets. The two most undervalued assets in the entire world, gold and silver. I mean, just getting devastated right now. We're always taught to buy low, sell high. Well, the two lowest assets are gold and silver. They're never going anywhere. They're never going to be worth zero. The entire world recognizes gold and silver as wealth, as money. And I truly believe this is what I'm doing. I am acquiring gold and silver. I'm putting some cash away, of course, topping off preps. And of course, number one asset is security. We saw what just happened in San Diego a couple days ago. I have to be very careful what I say. I don't want this video taken down. But we did see this violent act that took place in San Diego a couple days ago. Multiple people hurt, one dead. And another reminder that it doesn't matter where you're at. Violence can happen anywhere, anytime, any place. And this is why I believe, you should be training, you should have your security in order. If you have a weapons permit, you need to be carrying on a daily basis. So I know that there are going to be people that write in and say that the market's doing great or that they're doing great, and that's wonderful. But I've got a list here I want to go over with you. A couple reasons why I think it's not doing so great, on top of what we've just discussed over the last few minutes. U.S. stock market is overbought and it is completely overvalued. The stock market is built up on debt, which is now more expensive to maintain. 2019 first quarter earnings are coming in. They're dismal. They're nothing great. And you would think in a so-called booming economy, increased wage growth, low unemployment, that we would see better numbers. In fact, I think we would see better real estate numbers, better auto sale numbers, and better first quarter earnings. And this is all manipulated. If these corporations didn't have corporate buybacks, didn't have 0% interest rates for a decade, low rates, if there wasn't all this market rigging and manipulation, how much more dismal would these numbers be? Product shipment is declining. Manufacturing is slowing in the US and Europe, without a doubt. US PMI plummeted to a 31-month low. US business inventories are growing. That's not what they want growing. We had the 3-month and the 10-year inverted, yet they say that's no big deal. Nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. We can talk about what's been fueling these markets. As I've said earlier, corporate buybacks and cheap money. Again, this is the manipulation and the rigging that has pushed these markets to all-time highs or near all-time highs. U.S. government debt is soaring, the highest in history. Yet people will write in and say, well, I'm doing great. My town's doing great, yada, yada, yada. But that's wonderful. But your state is broken and your country is bankrupt. So people can write in and say that their town or their little city's doing great. But that doesn't really mean anything, because on the bigger picture, your state's broke and your country is financially broke also. And so eventually that is going to affect you no matter how good things are going. I don't understand how people can say this economy is doing well when we know we're $22 trillion in debt. And yes, a couple $100 trillion in debt if you include unfunded liabilities, Medicare and Medicaid. So I don't know how people think that we're doing well, how this economy is doing well when we're spending more than we're making. Okay, we have more money going out than coming in. So I don't understand how that's a healthy economy. Now, look, I'm not bashing Trump. I support Trump. I want him to be successful. I want America to be successful. And I understand he has to be careful what he says. I understand he's trying to, pump up this market, give it a positive jolt. I get it. He does not want this to fall in his lap. No president would. But I don't think at the end of the day he's going to be able to stop it. And I think he's going to have a serious talk with the American people at some point. We're witnessing a decline in housing for more than a half a year. Prices have begun to fall. Sales are declining. We're seeing the same thing in the auto sector. Prices falling, or sales falling off of a cliff. Prices of autos definitely haven't fallen off of a cliff. Again, another overvalued asset. Housing starts and permits have tumbled. So, you know, for every bit of good news, there's about 10 pieces of bad news. Retail is just, we are witnessing the retail apocalypse take place right now. We've never seen anything like this. Stock market is at its highest peak. I mean, it is, I believe it will continue to go higher. This bubble is going to get bigger, and the bigger the bubble gets, the worst damage we're going to see unfold here in America. Demand is stalling, growth is stalling. The Federal Reserve has nothing left. All they can do at this point is lower rates and throw more money at the problem. When you see this happen, I believe all hell will break loose. This will be the beginning of the end. And if I can say one thing today to every American out there, and I think most of you understand this, I think most of you are already doing this. And again, this is just me thinking out loud. Everybody, you know, has to make their own decision. Everybody has their own life to live. But I believe Americans have got to start taking a responsibility for their own lives. We cannot just always blame somebody else for our problems. We've got to get out of this victim type mentality. Yes, the banks are bad. Yes, the government has gotten us into a huge amount of debt. But you as an individual need to take responsibility for your own life and your own financial outlook. Instead of, you know, being one of these people who goes and buys a car and does a subprime loan for 84 months to buy a new car, why not just save up $3,000 or $4,000 and go buy a Toyota Camry and drive it till the wheels fall off? You know, I think people worry too much about this image or this type of lifestyle they have, always impressing other people, keeping up with the Joneses. The guy who's driving the $3,000 or $4,000 Camry, he can sleep at night. He's able to take some money from his paycheck and actually save some money. People will write in and say, I can't afford to buy a Silver Eagle. I can't buy an ounce of silver. Well, a lot of these people are probably, you know, buying cars with subprime loans and taking on 84 months of car payments. Live within your means. You know what? How about living a little bit below your means and having a cushion and being able to save a little bit more money? Then you might be able to buy some silver. You might have some cash put away, an emergency fund. How about being able to sleep at night? How about not worrying about impressing people you don't know? Does it really matter? I think right now is the time to be very, very conservative. Now is the time to get your debt paid off. Now is the time to be sleeping good at night and resting up and getting ready for what's coming. The deals are coming. Right now is the time to be saving up. Right now is the time to just not be taking on debt, but to be getting rid of debt. And you're not going to do that if you're going out buying new cars, with 84 months of payments, leasing a car, you know, for $1,000 a month to impress your friends or your family members. Just think what that money could be doing right now, where you could be putting it. You could be buying gold and silver right now on the cheap. But again, people always write in, oh, JB, I don't have any money. I can't afford any silver, because they've gotten into this lifestyle. They've run up the credit cards. They're leasing or buying cars beyond their means. They're living in a house that's too big for them or too expensive, or they're renting a condo or a property that, you know, is taking 50% of their paycheck. And so there's nothing left. Look, live within your means or below your means and get those debts paid off, get those credit cards paid off, and start saving up some cash. You want to have an emergency fund, you want to have some cash money put away, and you want to have some tangible assets like gold and silver put away. And you know what? If you have 6 months to do that, then take 6 months and do that. You may have 6 years. Every day that goes by, you're going to be wealthier by doing this. A wealthy person to me is not somebody that lives in a big house or drives a nice car. A wealthy person to me is somebody who has no debt, somebody that doesn't have that stress, somebody that can sleep at night, somebody who can look themselves in the mirror and not be fake. They have nobody to impress but God himself, and that's it. And these people who are debt-free, who are stockpiling cash and metals, I believe these people are going to make a killing during the next crash. They're going to be able to buy real estate. They're going to be able to buy automobiles. They're going to buy this stuff cheap, but they're going to be ready for it. If you're sitting there with all this debt, I mean, it's like a lead anchor tied to your leg, and it's going to pull you straight down when this collapse happens. And if you didn't go through 2008, I did, and I can tell you what I saw. The people with debt, the people with big mortgages, the people that had a lot of cars, the people who were financing these lifestyles with debt got crushed. Do not be one of these people. Remember, the masses always lose. The few who are awake, understand, and see what's coming, and these are the people that are going to capitalize, like the 0.00001%. They're wide awake. They know exactly what's coming. And we are going to witness the biggest wealth transfer the world has seen. It is going to make 2008 look like romper room. It's coming. What side are you going to be on? The losing side or the winning side?